This morning on Press Pass, ramping up response to the recent spike in crime in Warren. We're seeing it across the city, and just this week, a shooting in the Trumbull Homes neighborhood forced a nearby school to even go on lockdown. So, joining me this morning to discuss how the city is responding, Safety and Service Director Enzo Cantalamessa and Warren City Schools Superintendent Steve Shiro. Thank you so much for both of you coming in this morning.
Thank you. Thank you, Lindsay.
Of course, we talked a lot throughout the week as this story was developing on scene, so I appreciate your help. And
Sure.
you know, there's always a lot of questions when things happen. But Enzo, I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
During the press conference city leaders held earlier this week, we learned that the city wants to dedicate more money to overtime and also, you know, personnel maybe then, you know, showing more of a presence in the community. So talk a little bit about that and why money is the answer, or do you think maybe manpower also needs to be upped a little bit?
Well, we're always looking to add to the ranks of the police department, which obviously when you do that, you're able to increase a police presence. We have, in light of a couple of instances that have occurred, moved some money from regular wages to overtime for the remaining portion of the year so that we can have an increased presence on the streets. We've also committed to making some significant equipment purchases coming up to better enable the police to do their jobs on a day-to-day basis. A lot of that's going to be visible in the form of new cruisers, surveillance equipment, cameras, and that type of thing.
Do you think we need more bodies on the ground, though, more police officers? And how many? Are you working to hire them? Because I think a lot of the criticism on Facebook is that we need more people, not more money.
Well, they go hand in hand with one another. I mean, the citizens of Warren trusted us enough to grant us an income tax increase last year for the purpose of hiring additional police officers, and we have been hiring police officers. The challenge we faced recently has been that the candidate pool has gotten smaller and smaller over the years. So whereas in years past we were able to hire from lists of 20, 30, 40, 50 potential candidates, now the lists are anywhere from 5, 10, 12 sometimes. So we're always having to give civil service tests to bring on additional officers.
Okay, and then you also mentioned the security cameras that's in conjunction with the county, and then you also want to spend more money on equipment. Briefly touch on those two things before I talk to Steve.
Sure. The cameras are the result of a joint grant that was received by the City of Warren and Trumbull County. A target area of the downtown and a little bit past the downtown has been defined, and it's $200,000 that's going to enable the purchase of cameras for additional surveillance. And it'll give us a better scope and a better view of some of the areas where difficulties may occur.
Okay, now while this was going on, we had the first day of school at Willard. And Steve, I know you've taken a lot of proactive approaches. They've increased the number of school resource officers this year at your district from 4 to 5. Tell me a little bit about how the students and teachers are dealing with this. I mean, that's day one, and it's already a lot of stress to go back to school.
I think everyone's been dealing with it very well. We had a great presence coming into the first day of school. We had, you know, Ginny Posher from the United Way and Pastor Todd Johnson organizing 100 community men in the city of Warren, greeting our kids as they came in to the first day of school. This has enabled us to create a spirit of a positive nature in how we want to greet our kids. It flows. We had a great kickoff with our staff. We're coming off of a good year last year, so things are positive with our staff, more so than it's been in years past. And we've had a real good feel within the community and a lot of support. That's the kind of stuff, you know, that we've been working on with our social emotional learning and our approach to create an environment. So when paying it forward, so when something like this happens, we're able to wrap around it, and we have a response that's appropriate versus a reaction that may not be so much.
I would like your opinion, both of your opinions,
Sure.
on what is fueling the drama and the violence in the city of Warren in terms of just the recent spike. Would you say it's groups not getting along? What's happening in the city? Is there an underlying issue that we don't know about?
Well, I mean, you can never predict violence, you know, and someone intent on doing violence is going to do it. Increased police presence is always helpful, but someone intending to do bad things, they're going to do bad things. But what we're seeing is a lot of it gets tied to sometimes arguing on social media. Sometimes it's tied to a spike in the opioid crisis or epidemic. That's not unique to just the city of Warren. It's endemic all over the state.
And Steve, you saw that on social media, even in years past when we have talked about, you know, threats to the school. Are you having any trouble attracting teachers or students to the district because of the city of Warren and, you know, some of the things that are reported there, or would you say you're seeing maybe some better results? Because I know that the school district is doing well financially right now.
Correct. So I'm glad you asked that, because it's all very positive in those areas. We have an increase in student enrollment last year, an increase in student enrollment this year. We're able to retain our students at a higher rate that we've been from students going out in the district, and most every school district in the Mahoning and Trumbull County area has lost approximately 5% of their population over the last several years. Warren has turned that around and been picking up students. Same thing with staff retention, doing really well. We had the lowest staff hiring and turnover this year as we had in the last several years, almost half. So that's great. Our staff and principals were hired in June and just trickling in after that. So we've done really well.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining me this morning. We could keep talking forever, but we can't because we don't have enough time. I'm getting yelled at. But I just want to make sure you know that I appreciate you coming in and talking about the proactive approaches because there are some good things happening in Warren. We want people to know about that as well. So thank you so much for coming in, and we'll have much more on the show when we come back. So stay with us.
Weekends.